So here's one of the smallest Harry Potter dollhouses. It's the Gryffindor Common Room. I put this miniature scene together inside of a big luggage trunk, and I can show you all the steps that I went through. A lot of people don't see my vision when I'm shopping at the store. Like when I bought this luggage, it was just maybe a side table or a trunk. Nobody really knew except for me. And then this is what came out of it. Something else I love to do is use paper clay. Paper clay is lightweight, really nice to work with, but this time I had some extra packaging left over from cardboard and I cut it up, tore it up, figured it looked kind of like castle stone. As you can see, it really does. Each square is about 1 to 1.5 inches wide, in a rectangular shape. The other cool part is the 3D printed castle windows. Those are really specific, and I think 3D printing is a great tool to make those quickly and easily, but you will have to give them a really realistic, cool paint job. The next step is getting this little window that I 3D printed and tracing it onto this foam core. This is about 1/2 inch thick and it cuts well with an X-Acto knife. I'm also gonna add an extra lip around it because I think I need to cut the outer portion and then add some depth to the wall so it looks thicker. I'll explain more of this later. These extra pieces I'm going to layer and glue to the back of the wall so we can get some depth when I glue it inside of the box. You'll see more of this later as well. So this little window, I am going to glue it in here. I'm going to show you how I turn it around and use hot glue on the edge. We can paint this later so that no light bleeds through. In order for this wall to look very thick, I'm going to glue this window pushed back a little bit and add layers of foam around the edge. This will be a little bit complicated, but once you add the paper clay, you could hide any mistake. Here's my little tiny squares. I'm hot gluing them, and now you can really see that this wall is going to look super thick, maybe 1 inch thick, 1.5 inches. It's not perfect, but this is where we're going to add all the paper clay with some tacky glue or wood glue. It'll look great. There's a sort of turret on the left, which I'm going to use this cardboard poster packaging thing I had from the mail. I cut it down the middle, and I'm going to start to glue it together so that it's tall enough to fit in the box. Nothing's going to be glued in permanent yet. There's also this small little ledge where people can sit on and look out this window, so I built that out of this foam core. I cut and glued a few layers of it. Also with the fireplace, I used hot glue and just kind of eyeball measured it, and this looks like a good piece to put here. When you cut the wood trim, use the Easy Cutter. It is the best ever. It cuts wood so easily, and this is going to be the trim around the edge, and this will all be covered in paper clay later on so we could hide all the defects. Here on the left side, there's this wall and this hallway with stairs. So I'm using the 1/2 inch thick foam core. It'll be glued here later, and we're going to add a staircase behind it. Here's some little pieces you could layer and glue with hot glue and measure and make sure they fit just right. Here I had glued some castle images to the back where you're going to see through the window and you're going to see the landscape. So there's a dragon and a castle, and this is pretty much lined up really well. Next, I'm going to get my paper clay, and this is an old brush. I cut it so that it's kind of firm at the tip. And also here we have a credit card that I cut at an angle. You can start slicing a small piece of the paper clay off, and you can feel that it feels moist and wet, and you want to keep it wet when you're not using it, so you can put it inside of a Ziploc bag with a wet paper towel. So we put glue down first because the paper clay can fall off of the foam. So once the glue is on, you put pieces of paper clay. You can start smoothing them out with your finger, and when you're done, you're going to stipple it with this brush. This brush, you could see it's about 1/2 inch bristle, and it holds up a little firmer this way. You can find the perfect brush that works for you, but this is the texture you're going to give the stone. With that credit card, I cut the card so that it's maybe 1/2 inch thick. That way you can easily just make the brick lines, and it's already a preset height. If you want bigger stones, you can cut the credit card in a different shape. So now that this back area is finished, you want to add your glue and do all of this outside of the scene because it's going to be hard for you to get your hand in there. So that's why I haven't glued all the pieces into the scene yet. We're going to stipple the staircase, and we're going to continue to do this until it's smooth and flat enough and we're happy with it. Then we can do the castle lines with our little credit card. It works really well. Now, this is a different type of brick. It's what I cut from the recycled cardboard. So I wanted to try something different, and I'm gonna hot glue these pieces to the wall. You can also cut while you're gluing. For the first lighting stage, I'm adding these flicker light bulbs I bought on eBay. They're LEDs, and I put one behind the wall so it can light up this cool landscape. There's also a really neat chandelier I found on Etsy. There's a lot of eBay sellers, Etsy, that sell dollhouse chandeliers. It would be a 12-volt chandelier. In this next stage, I'm also covering the fireplace in this recycled cardboard. It's really easy and convenient. It's a little bit different than the paper clay. This logo was also outside of a journal, and I just tore it off and glued it on. I thought it was the perfect size. Here you can see the turret is going to be easier with paper clay because it's rounded. So the paper clay, you can just add it to any shape and it'll mold right around it perfectly. The painting process can be pretty tedious, but it's okay. You can give it a few days in between to dry and then give it layers. So if you're not happy with a color, you could say, hey, I want to add a little bit more gray, light brown, layer it, and then see what it looks like later. This is a great technique so that your stones look really realistic. Here you can see that I'm painting the paper clay, and now you have to wait so that it's completely dry overnight before painting it, and you can fill in any cracks that happen and wait for those to dry as well. The paint is basic acrylic paint. I mix my own colors, and I add one thick gray coat. Once that's dry, I can go in and add a different tone of gray and layer it. If you think it's too orange or too red, just go back and add a little bit more gray, neutralize it, add layers. That's what's going to make this look so cool. A lot of people noticed that this was the Hufflepuff crest, so I added extra texture to hide it because I really needed the Gryffindor one, but it was the perfect size. So here you can see the walls are starting to fit really well. I haven't glued them in yet, which is important because you may need to access electrical or wires. Now on the joints, you're going to want to add more paper clay once you glue in the back wall and the side turret. When that dries, you'll get a better idea of how you can paint and cover these cracks. For the flooring, I had a pre-stained wood flooring from Hobby Lobby. It was just quick and easy for me, so I cut it in parts because the center is going to have a big rug. I don't like leaving the edges unfinished. I'm also aging all of my lamps with a little bit of dark gold and black. The tapestry was hard to find, but there was an Etsy seller that was making reusable canvas bags, and that was the perfect size, and it was double-sided. It was really convenient because I didn't have to figure out how to print this. I could just cut it and it's ready to be used. After I glued my canvas up, you start putting in furniture that you believe may look good in this scene. The artwork was also printed off of the internet. The piece is really starting to come together. I think the lighting is one of the main reasons, but the artwork also makes it come together as well. These little frames are something you can 3D print or find easily on eBay or Etsy. The furniture was a little trickier to find, but I customized it by upholstering it. I had some velvety type dark red fabric and I upholstered it. That could be a separate video so I could show you how I did that. I hope you enjoyed this piece as much as I did making it, and if you have any other suggestions, just leave me a comment in this video, and you can also subscribe to see more.